Hi all, in this video we will try to discuss KP astrology basics. So KP astrology is related to the nakshatra astrology. So everything we predict based on the nakshatra, right? The nakshatra lord, right? So the preference is more for nakshatra lord here. So what we call this Krishnamurti Paddhati is also called as the Nakshatra Paddhati. So it is based on an astrological practice which actually suggests that a planet placed in a particular nakshatra will give the result of the star lord of that nakshatra. So a planet gives the result of its nakshatra lord, right? So let us say if Jupiter is placed in Pushyami nakshatra. Who is lord of Pushyami nakshatra? Saturn. So Jupiter is going to give the result of Saturn. So it is going to work for Saturn. So let us say your Jupiter is sitting in the second house. You are a Gemini ascendant sitting Jupiter and the Pushyami. It's sitting in the house of Cancer, let us say. Then for Gemini ascendant, Jupiter sitting in the second house, Pushyami nakshatra, and Saturn is sitting in the, let us say, 11th house, or Saturn is sitting in the 6th house, let us say. Then Jupiter, which is sitting in the second house, actually, right, it tries to give the result of the 6th house. So it works for the 6th house more compared to the second house. And of course, as Jupiter is sitting in the second house, it is going to be the significator of second house anyways, but the first preference will be given to the nakshatra lord placement, as Saturn is sitting in the 6th house. So 6th house matters, it is going to work more, and then second house matters also, it works, but preference is less, right? So every planet gives more preference to its nakshatra lord. So for example, let's take another example. Venus is placed in Jupiter's any of the stars like Punarvasu or Vishakha or Purva Bhadrapada. Jupiter is the lord of Punarvasu or Vishakha or Purva Bhadrapada. So Venus is sitting in Punarvasu or Vishakha or Purva Bhadrapada, then Venus will give the result of Jupiter, So this applies to both in natal or in transit chart. Natal chart is your birth chart. Transit chart is the current transit chart. So you can apply this rule, So every planet works for its nakshatra lord. That is a fundamental thing in KP astrology. So stars and their lords, that's very important, right? So you need to remember all the stars here. So Ashwini, Bharani, Kritika, Rohini, Mrigashira, Rudra, Punarvasu, Pushyami, Aslesha. This is one set of 9 stars. The second set of 9 stars are Makha, Purva Falguni, Uttara Falguni, Hasta, Chitra, Swati, Vishakha, Anuradha, Jyeshtha. So that is a second set. So every set, if you observe, Ketu to Mercury means Makha's lord is Ketu, then Purva Falguni Venus, Uttara Falguni Sun. So Hasta Moon, Chitra Mars, Swati Rahu, Vishakha Jupiter, Anuradha Saturn, and then Jyeshtha is Mercury. This order is same even in the Vimshottari system, Vimshottari Dasha system. You see the same order. That is Ketu Shukra, that is Ketu Venus, then Sun, Moon, Mars, Rahu, Jupiter, Saturn, and Mercury. This is the order, even for the stars also, right? In the Vimshottari Dasha also, this order is followed. So every planet has 3 stars, right? So the third set of stars are Mula, Purvashadha, Uttarashadha, then Shravana, Dhanishta, Shatabhisha, Purva Bhadrapada, Uttara Bhadrapada, and Revati. So these are 9 stars, the third set of 9 stars. So you can see Ashwini, Makha and Moola, these three are Ketu nakshatras. Bharani, Pura Falguni, Purvashadha, Venus nakshatras. Kritika, Uttara Bhadrapada, Kritika, Uttara Falguni, Uttarashadha, these are sun nakshatras. Rohini, Hasta, Shravana, these are moon nakshatras, right? You can always see the moon's energy in the middle of any sign, right? Rohini is in the middle of Taurus, and Hasta is in the middle of Virgo, Shravana is in the middle of Capricorn. So in the middle of earthy signs you can find moon more, right? So earthy signs are more materialistic. So moon's energy you can see at the center of this materialistic earthy signs. And Mars nakshatras are, they act as bridge between the bridge between earthy sign and airy sign. If you see Mrigashira first two padas you can find in Taurus. Mrigashira next two padas, 3-4 padas you can find in Gemini. Taurus is an earthy sign, Gemini is an airy sign. So Mrigashira acts as a bridge between the earthy sign and airy sign. And then Chitra you can see Virgo, between Virgo and Libra, it acts as a bridge. So Chitra 1-2 in Virgo, Chitra 3-4 in Libra. Then after Chitra you can see Dhanishta is another Mars nakshatra. So these three, Mrigashira, Chitra, Dhanishta, these three are Mars nakshatras. So Dhanishta acts as a bridge between the earthy sign Capricorn and the airy sign Aquarius. So Dhanishta 1-2 you can find in Capricorn, 3-4 you can find in Aquarius. And then Arudra, Swati, Shatabhisha, Rahu nakshatras. Rahu nakshatras you can always find in the middle portion of the airy signs. Arudra, Swati, Shatabhisha. Arudra is in the middle of Gemini, and then Swati is in the middle of another airy sign, that is Libra, and Shatabhisha is in the middle of another airy sign, Aquarius. Punarvasu, Vishakha and Pura Bhadrapada, these are the Jupiter signs. So Punarvasu, you can find the 3 padas you can find in the airy sign Gemini, whereas the 4th pada you can find in the watery sign. So Jupiter's 4th pada is always in a watery sign. Even it is proven in the case of Libra and Scorpio junction also. Vishakha 4th pada is in Scorpio, whereas Vishakha 1-3 padas are in the airy sign. Even in Pura Bhadrapada 1-3 are in the airy sign Aquarius. The 4th pada of Pura Bhadrapada is actually in the watery sign Pisces. Saturn nakshatras are Pushyami, Anuradha and Uttara Bhadrapada. So you can always find in the middle of watery signs you can always find Saturn's energy more, right? So the middle portion of any watery sign you can see Saturn's energy more. So Pushyam is in the middle of Cancer, so Anuradha middle of Scorpio, and Uttara Bhadrapada is the middle of Pisces. Mercury is always at the urge of watery signs. Ashlesha at the edge of Cancer, Jyeshtha at the edge of Scorpio, Revati is at the edge of Pisces. So these are all Mercury. And Ketu nakshatras are always at the starting of the fiery signs, like Ashwini in the front of Aries, Makha in the front of Leo, Moola in the front of Sagittarius. So the 27 stars, right? You got them now. So they have been divided into, of course, the nine divisions based upon the star lots. You can always find nine nakshatras in one set. You can always find 9 nakshatras in one set. So the sequence continues always: the Ketu, Venus, Sun, Moon, Mars, and then Rahu, Jupiter, Saturn, and Mercury. Ketu Venus, Sun Moon Mars, Rahu Jupiter, Saturn Mercury. This order is always followed. So any planet posited in any of the 9 stars, any of the stars of Venus will give the result of Venus. Any planet which is placed in the nakshatras of Jupiter, they will give the result of Jupiter. Any planet sitting in the nakshatras of Mars will give the result of Mars. So you just take any example, right? So if you take an example, right? So let us say Jupiter is placed in the 12th house. Jupiter is placed in the 12th house. You observe a chart, and in that chart you can understand Jupiter is in the 12th house. Let us say in the Leo sign, Jupiter is in the 12th house. So the obviously person is, let us say, Cancer ascendant guy. The person is a Virgo ascendant guy, and 12th house is obviously Cancer, let us say. And in the Cancer also, so Cancer is a 12th. So here Leo is a 12th house, as we discussed. So Virgo ascendant. So take this example. Let's say Virgo ascendant. So Leo is the 12th house. So in Leo you can find, let us say, Jupiter is placed in Leo, the 12th house. Now where is Jupiter present? That is the most important thing. Jupiter is present in the Leo 12th house, that is fine. But in which nakshatra Jupiter is present? Let us say Jupiter is in the Purva Falguni nakshatra. And Purva Falguni is ruled by Venus. So what are the Venus nakshatras basically? Bharani, Purva Falguni and Purva Ashadha. These three are the Venus nakshatras. So any planet placed in the Venus nakshatras, they give the result of Venus. Any planet placed in a particular nakshatra, it actually gives the result of the nakshatra lord, right? Now Jupiter is placed in Purva Falguni, it is ruled by Venus. So obviously Jupiter will give the result of Venus. So Jupiter is lord of Sagittarius and Pisces also, right? Let's not get into the uneven distribution of signs and all the stuff. Let us try to limit ourselves into the equal division of signs. Let us say, let's assume every sign is occupying 30 degrees. Actually in the sky every sign may not be of 30 degrees. There are some fluctuations according to Krishnamurti Padhati, but let us say we are limiting our discussion to the 30 degrees. Every sign is of 30 degrees. Then what happens? So the ascendant we are considering here is Virgo ascendant, and the 12th house is of course Leo. Jupiter is present there. Now if you go by traditional astrology, traditional normal astrology, you just say, okay, Jupiter is the lord of the 4th house Sagittarius and the 7th house Pisces, because for Virgo ascendant, Sagittarius and Pisces are the 4th and 7th houses respectively, right? So Jupiter is also sitting in the 12th house, which is Leo here. So obviously you can say Jupiter is going to work on the 12th house matters more as an occupant of the 12th house, that is Leo here. And also it's going to work on the 4th and 7th houses, because Sagittarius and Pisces are the own houses of Jupiter. You say this. Yeah. So Jupiter is the significator of 1247 for this particular birth chart, you say. So whenever Jupiter is activated, let us say Jupiter Mahadasha, Jupiter Antardasha, then you generally say, oh, okay, for this guy 4, 7, 12 are activated. Means it's going to work more on the 4th house matters, 7th house matters, 12th house matters. The 4th house is related to your house and property, or your 10th, your 11th and 12th standard education. 4th house is vehicles, your properties, your emotional happiness, your relatives, your mother, your mind, all are 4th house matters. So generally you say you work on the house that you are living in whenever Jupiter's Antardasha is activated or Jupiter Mahadasha is activated, because for this particular birth chart that we are discussing, the Virgo ascendant, where Jupiter is placed in the Leo, that is the 12th house, which is the owner of 4 and 7 house, 4th and 7th houses, that are Sagittarius and Pisces, then obviously Jupiter is becoming the significator of 4th, 7th and 12th houses. So whenever Jupiter is activated, 4, 7, 12 are activated. So fourth house is activated. So what are all the fourth house matters are going to be activated in the Jupiter Santadasha. Fourth house matters are your emotional happiness, relatives, mother, or your mind, your property, your vehicles, and all the stuff, right? And seventh house matters are your relationships, your legal relationship, right, or your marriage, or your business partner relationship. That's all seventh house. The social behavior, how you behave with the behave socially, how you are, right? That's seventh house is others. The first house is you. This is opposite to you as others, and the seventh house is your partner, basically, whether it's business partner or your legal marriage partner. That is seventh house. So you work on marriage more whenever Jupiter is activated, you say. And Jupiter is placed in the 12th house. So in our example, so you work on the 12th house matters, which are spirituality, occultism, hospitalization, or loneliness, occult science practices. 12th house is also expenditure. It's also related to your sorrow, grief, and all the stuff, and also the kind of happiness that you get from your spouse. And also 12th house is the bed pleasures, right? So these are all going to be activated, so you work more on those matters, right, when Jupiter is activated, you say, right? So obviously Jupiter is lord of Sagittarius and Pisces, and hence becomes the lords of 4th and 7th house in our example. So Jupiter is actually placed in the 12th house in the star of Venus, that is Purva Falguni, right? So but according to nakshatra astrology, see, in the general astrology we say Jupiter in the 12th house, which is the lord of 4th and 7th houses, work on 4, 7, 12. Jupiter's Antardasha is activated, so 4, 7, 12 matters are activated, we say that. But in the nakshatra astrology we see the nakshatra, in which nakshatra Jupiter is present. So one person says, okay, Jupiter's Antardasha is activated for this particular chart. Now not only 4, 7, 12 things that come into the picture, but in the nakshatra astrology we give more preference to the nakshatra lord. So as Jupiter is present in the Purva Falguni nakshatra, which is a Venus nakshatra, so we check the position of Venus here. So hence Jupiter actually becomes agent of Venus, basically, right? So Venus, let us say, is the lord of 2nd and 9th house, because Virgo Ascendant Libra is the 2nd house and 9th house is obviously Taurus. So, and let us say Venus is placed in the 10th house, that is in Gemini. So Venus is actually showing 2, 9, 10. Venus is actually showing 2, 9, 10 because Venus is placed in the 10th house, lord of 2nd and 9th. But who is placed in Venus nakshatra here? Jupiter is placed. So when Jupiter is activated, Jupiter primarily works on 2, 9, 10 matters also, because every planet works for its nakshatra lord. Is a fundamental thing in the nakshatra astrology. So that is a thing. So Jupiter is not only going to act upon 4, 7, 12, but he is going to mainly work upon 2, 9, 10. Even more, he gives more preference to 2, 9, 10, and in that also Jupiter gives more preference to the 10th house here, because Venus is placed in the 10th house, right? So Jupiter is actually present in Purva Falguni nakshatra, which is a Venus nakshatra. So obviously Jupiter works for Venus here, right? So every planet works for its nakshatra lord. It gives more preference to its nakshatra lord. It acts as a servant, or it acts as an agent for its nakshatra lord. So if Jupiter is present in Purva Falguni nakshatra, then Jupiter acts as a servant or an agent for Venus. So whenever Jupiter comes in the picture, it really works on the Venus matters more, because Venus in our example is sitting in the 10th house, which is the lord of 2nd and 9th houses. So 2, 9, 10 become the main preference of Jupiter, and then second preference is given to the Jupiter's placement, that is the 12th house, and it is also the lord of 4th and 7th houses. So Jupiter gives second preference to 4, 7 and 12 matters, right? Gives more preference to Venus placement. That is the nakshatra astrology's magic, and it works fine. And let us say another example. In our example, let's say Mars is sitting in the second house, that is Libra, because we're considering the Virgo ascendant, and Mars is present in the Chitra nakshatra. Chitra nakshatra is the own star of Mars. So if you see, Mars is the lord of 3 and 8 houses, because we are considering the Virgo ascendant. So Mars is the lord of 3rd house Scorpio and 8th house Aries. So Mars is sitting in the 2nd house. So we generally say Mars should work on 2, 3, 8 matters more, because Mars is sitting in the 2nd house, is also the lord of 3rd and 8th houses. So Mars, whenever Mars is activated, it has to work on 2, 3, 8 matters more. And here, that is a general astrology, but in the nakshatra astrology, every planet has to give more importance to its nakshatra lord. So here Mars is sitting in the Chitra nakshatra. Chitra is the own star of Mars. So even Mars here is more powerful, because Mars has to give more preference to its nakshatra lord. Its nakshatra lord is himself. So Mars is, whenever Mars is activated, it's going to give more and more and more preference to 2, 3, 8 matters. It is going to completely work on the 2nd house matters, because Mars is sitting in the own star in the 2nd house. So 2nd house matters is going to be very much activated, right? So whenever a planet is present in its own star, that planet is really powerful. It's going to work on that particular house matters completely, right? Whatever significations are given, right, it's going to work completely on them. So 2, 3, 8 matters, whenever Mars and Dasha is coming into the picture, for this particular example that we're discussing, 2, 3, 8 are completely manifested without any doubt, right? So that is actually the importance of nakshatra astrology. So thanks for watching this video. In the second video of KP astrology, we'll try to understand the signification of Rahu and Ketu in the KP astrology, or in the nakshatra astrology especially. Thank you.